This podcast is sponsored by Vicon, the Academy Award-winning developer of motion capture products for the life science, entertainment, and engineering industries. Vicon provides cutting-edge hardware and software with the highest accuracy. Shogun, Vicon's visual effects software, developed specifically for the needs of the VFX community, captures full body and high-fidelity fingers effortlessly in real time and delivers robust, accurate, reliable data. Shogun now includes custom-developed virtual production tools to power your next-level project. Find out more at www.vicon.com.
Oh, hello, Internet. This is Troy Baker, and I'm here with your lovely, very, very British host, Victoria Atkin. And this is the Performance Capture Podcast.
So essentially, motion capture performers, like all the other performers, are here to tell stories.
And then they're like, you mean there are actors in video games? I thought it was animation.
I kind of created my position. Like, nobody said, oh, here you go to school to become a performance capture producer. I pretty much created my own career.
I had done so much work, I felt like it was time for me to give back to the community that was so good to me.
The dots can tell if you're lying.
You're listening to the Performance Capture Podcast. This is Season 3, and I'm really very, very excited to have an incredible guest on to here today. This is somebody in the industry that we've never really interviewed before, an area of the industry that we haven't tapped into yet, so I'm very, very excited. I'd like to introduce you. Our first question is always, what is your name and where did you grow up?
Hello everyone, my name is Rohit JINDAL and I'm from Lucknow. It's a small town in the northern part of India, and I grew up there, and 16 years back I moved on to Mumbai for my further education in animation. Then I was going places. I was in Hyderabad, Bangalore, and currently I'm in Mumbai for the current role I'm working on.
That is so amazing. I love India. I was very lucky to go there a few years ago. So, and you're based there now. You're calling from India today, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, fantastic. So, can you tell us about what you do, your official title, and where you work right now?
So, I'm a lead animator with Ubisoft. I'm working on some really AAA titles right now. My last games were Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5 when I was in Rockstar.
And also, I realize that you've also, not only have you done performance capture and animation for video games, you did some animation for Disney's planes, is that right?
Yes, absolutely right. So thank you for bringing that up. So I just almost missed it. So it was like years back. So I joined animation industry like 6 years back, but I was in animation in core itself from like 16 years. Initially I was a 2D animator when I was like drawing, and I moved on to 3D. I was working on some television shows from Disney. Even I was working on Disney films, Planes, Tinkerbell.
And didn't you do Mickey Mouse Club?
That was my initial gig when I first started my career back in 2007. So it was a great learning experience for me.
So we always ask everybody, and because you're so specific of what you do with animation for performance capture, how would you best describe what performance capture is?
Well, I consider there are two terms basically, performance capture and motion capture. So because I'm from gaming, so I'll tell you more specific. In motion capture, we specifically record only the body. We try to capture only the body. We don't need facial and audio because that is for the gameplay timelines. For performance capture, we have everything. We want everything, like the body, the face, the emotions, audio, the environment, even the camera, all comes together as a package. So performance capture is mainly for cinematics and even for the films, as you know. But for gaming, yeah, performance versus motion capture is cinematic versus gameplay.
Okay, so you always use performance capture for cinematics and motion capture for gameplay.
Yes, so that's what I described. I consider that, but it's a general term is motion capture, which we use quite often throughout.
And how did you discover performance capture? We started talking about how you got into animation, but how did you discover performance capture and how did you become involved? What was your first project? So you can go back and talk to us about how you started as an animator and how that developed. I'm really keen to hear about when it transitioned for you into performance capture and when you became aware of this incredible, exciting medium.
I said earlier, I was working on Disney planes long back, and back then, like years and years back, I had no clue of what motion capture is. I have no clue of. I have a very limited access to the internet, and there was the only actually over the while I was working over the table, I heard that there is some project which came up in the same studio. They were doing some tests of some facial capture, and they were trying to audition some animators, and somehow I pushed myself in the list, and they got markers all over my face, and that was a famous dialogue from Friends, from Joey, and but nothing happened later after that. So, but that was a kickstart because that was something I really got interested into. I want to learn. I wanted to work in motion captures. So later on, when I joined Rockstar in 2014, if I remember correctly. So my first proper gig was like GTA 5. So that was a time when I properly transitioned from a keyframe hand key animator to a motion capture animator. By the way, there's not much difference between both. It's just a difference of medium you choose while animating. So I believe that was a good experience for me because if I know that there are many animators who wants to. There's a whole new generation of animators who wants to work in motion captures, but they have not got much work on hand key animation. So that is a bit alarming. So I do prefer like all the animators who wants to work in motion capture or for gaming or even for films, but for motion capture, I strongly recommend you should have your hands on to some part of 2D animation, hand key animation. Once you get your hands on it, you got an expertise there, then you can jump onto performance capture and motion capture timelines because in motion capture, basically we have keys on each and every frame. And as an animator, animators don't like keys in each and every frame. So the hand key animators try to keep the timelines clean. So the more your experience is with your normal keyframe animation, the better it will help you in learning and growing when it comes to working with motion capture files.
I want to hear a little bit more about you having the dots on your face and reading lines as Joey from Friends. Like that, I need more experience. I need more story about that. How did that even happen? So they were lining up animators. They had a list and they were saying, "I was going to test out this facial rig."
Yes, actually. So I honestly, because that was like years back, so I don't know what was their plan, but I just knew that they were doing some tests there. That was new for me and my team, and they were making some list, and they want someone who knew some good dialogue, and I was thinking Friends back then, and Joey was my favorite.
Oh, so you chose the script?
I actually, yes. They got markers on my face. The funny part was I could not remove those markers, and I went home with the same markers on my face. It was like crazy. It was not just the doors; they have actually painted markers, and it was hard for me to remove that.
You probably didn't have any makeup remover at home, right?
No.
So that's really interesting because when would you say that was? You said that was a long time ago, but what was the year? Do you think? 10 years ago or more than that?
More than that. So
really?
I would say somewhere around 2008 or 9, somewhere between 8 and 9.
And that's when you as an animator really began to see facial capture and performance capture coming into your work.
Yes.
Yeah.
So after that, even like 7 years down the line, or I'm big picky 7 years, but it has to be somewhere around 6 to 7 years. I was still working on some nice films. I was working on VFX movies. I worked on Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters. I animated the dragon, the sea dragon there. And once again, there was no support of captures of performance data. So we did hand keyed everything. Of course, following up all the references from the world we can get for animating a dragon. But somehow, everything was leading me towards motion capture because once again, with the reference of background plates I had while animating the sea dragon, once again I felt the need. Okay, that technology, by the way, was rotoscopy. Because I'm from 2D background, so that was a terminology. So that actually helped me while animating animals in Red Dead Redemption 2.
How did it help you? In which specific way?
So there's a possibility like for human body, of course, we all know that we have costume and thoughts, right? So, but it was not a possibility for animals. When you want to you cannot just capture animals just like that. right? And we followed the same process. Like we got all the references. I will give a small example. If that is the horse run, we got all the references of horse run, and we were working on motion builder. Kept that reference as a BG plate, and we had a rig on top of that reference, and there was a timeline of specific frames, and we just have to copy the data onto my poses. So keying the key poses, and then one thing led to another. It was a process. This is actually an oversimplified version of what actually follows. So yeah, so that actually helped me in understanding maybe that process of animating. While you don't have the data, still you want the realistic uh, uh, keys, realistic performance of the data, then you have to go back to the traditional technology where you have the references, getting that in the background, and just copying it.
Yeah. So, what would you say is your favorite thing about motion capture? Why do you love this stuff more than, or maybe you don't, but if you were to say, oh, this is why I love going to work. I love doing this because of motion capture. What would it be?
So I'm more of a behind the scenes person when it comes to motion capture. I am the person who is preparing for motion captures and trying to get the shoots done according to the animation lists, what I have prepared, and getting the data back to the studio floor, and myself and along with the team of animators, we just executed. So for me, everything just amazed me, just wowed me. Like everything was, I loved everything. More specifically, if you're talking about my favorite, so I love the productivity part. So I believe that this motion capture is extremely, or performance capture is extremely productive for animators. Back during the traditional days, not just back, even today also, if a clip of animation requires so and so amount of time, I'll just give a rough figure. For example, if it requires 10 hours, you don't require any time at all in the animation desk. Basically, when the animator is animating, you have the data captured in one day. If I can give the count, like if one day you are capturing somewhere around 30 clips, 30 actions, and a team of animators, or like it was like 30 animators required to produce a single animation. So you can just do by 1/10 of the size of team. So one, productivity, and of course it's like very fast. Especially it helps in gaming, because in gaming we need to do some quick tests when it comes to prototyping, and we do not want to spend time in keyframing animation. So we do have a first pass of the motion captures. That's a standard process for all AAA studios, even for Rockstar back then. So we can have the first pass of the shoots done. We call it the prototype. We tag it the prototype. We come back to the studio floor, make everything a game ready asset. We implement, we edit, basically, we modify the clip, stitch everything together in the game engine, and implement it. And we can actually judge. It will help. It actually helps us to decide the metrics and the calculations between, and even the speed of the walk and runs. And once you have everything is ready in the prototyping stage, then we can go back to the studio floor and we can ask the actors to capture.
So there's just a lot less time involved when you've already captured things for an animator. It just speeds up the process.
Yes.
And how do you feel about real-time animation?
Basically, all the animations what we are doing is the real-time animation. We have a technician at the studio floor who's a mocap specialist, right? So after you guys, while you guys are acting out, real time, the data is transferred to the model, to the character model at the very moment, and at that same point, the data is retargeted, you can say, transferred to the rig, to the character rig. And for example, if you have captured a timeline of, like, for example, 2 minutes or 3 minutes, the full data is being executed or retargeted onto the character rig, and then delivered to us, to animators, so that we can play around according to our game requirement, basically. So yeah, the real time, we are always working on real time. It's like back in Rockstar, even here also, every time it's a real time.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It really saves a lot of time when it's just straight away onto the character. And I don't know enough about this, but I wondered if it's becoming more and more accurate in that way. I think before it wasn't as accurate when you were delivering that straight away, and there was having animators, correct me if I'm wrong, animators having to go in and touch up things and change things. But now I think the technology is becoming up to speed that there's not as much touch-ups and having to go back in.
Exactly, because you got it right. So we have saved a lot. We do save a lot of time with that. There's a point of accuracy when it comes to this kind of technology. We don't want to spend time that, okay, the data is captured at day 1 and day 23. Someone is coming back to you saying that, okay, it was not captured because some body part of it was broken in the character region, or something did not work out fine, and then we have to capture it once again. So I must say that this kind of thing still happens in some studios, maybe some small studios, the studios which are exploring their market. I know some studios who are trying to build their own motion capture stages in a house, some small game studios. So even in India, we have a few, 1 or 2 precisely, like that. So I can anticipate, I don't know exactly, but I can anticipate this kind of thing happens, because we really need a big budget for some awesome technology like this, and which actually saves the time.
So I would love you to tell me about, you told us about your experience first putting on the dots and things like that, but is there, we usually ask actors or directors an experience that they enjoyed on the motion capture stage, but I guess for you it would just be a specific experience of using performance capture. Was there anything somebody did, I don't know, picked their nose and you animated that? I don't know, something silly that you, or something just very memorable that you got to animate that you could tell us about using performance capture?
Absolutely. So during Red Dead, so one of my key responsibilities was to convey and to plan out the motion captures. I was not physically there at the studio floor, at the mocap floor, but from I was in Bangalore back then, and I have a team of animators who were giving me the requirements to capture. That day I was like, there was a video call happening and I was seeing this flow virtually. So basically some weird kind of requirements came, like an animator just asked me can you please ask the actor to fall slow? And I was like, dude, how can you ask the actor to fall slow? That's your job as an animator, to make him fall slow or fast. So yeah, that will be a standard time.
Can you just fall a bit slower, please? Yeah.
That's the gravity which is happening there. I just love the combat part of it. Love the part when the 2 actors are doing the combat choreography.
So stunts?
Yes, the stunt part, and I was just amazed because they were not actually fighting. He was at some way. He was not even. They were not even interacting, but they were so skilled. You guys are so skilled that even though you're not interacting, but you kind of do the same action, do act out the performance as if you are interacting with the same timing of hit and impacts, keeping the metrics in mind. So all this was my was the best part basically. So yeah, always quite memorable.
Is there a character that you've really enjoyed animating, or is there a character that's out there that you wish you'd been part of animating?
I really enjoyed animating the small kid, Jack Marston. So basically, we in Red Dead we give equal importance to all the characters, even if it is Arthur Morgan or Jack Marston or his son John Marston, and that small kid. I loved animating the small kid, Jack Marston.
So as actors, we're told to sometimes limit things that we do so that because it would be more expensive for animators to do it. So, for example, when I had Evie Fry had a pocket watch that I said, she's very organized. She would be on time for things. Can we have a pocket watch? And they said, yeah, you can have it. We'll animate it on, but you won't be able to use it. I'm thinking that's mainly to do with budget. Perhaps you can clarify whether it's budget or whether there's something specific that you have to do with animation to different things that can move, and why we have to limit that. For example, like if I wanted to play with my buttons on my shirt or something like that, could you explain more?
If there are some props which are hanging around or which the character is having, we prefer that the actor should be having those same props there, whether it be the buttons, playing on the buttons, or the watch, or even the watch in hand if there isn't some interaction happening, because all those detailed nuances does impact the animations, the character animations, what is being implemented here.
So the production stage that offers us as actors the props, the more of those that we can have, and that helps you.
Yes, I would like to highlight here that it's always good to convey, from like you guys as an actor and we guys as an animator, we should do the communication in as detail as possible. If there's something not working out, I will not feel like, okay, I should not tell the actors to wear the watch. That point, maybe they will feel a bit uncomfortable, but that will really cost us upon the animation time when we will do.
Yeah, I've had that said to me before, like, oh no, let's cut that bit because that's going to cost a lot of money. You can't do that.
Yeah, so it's always good that you just communicate, convey, and just tell at every point that, okay, this is something which we want or will not work out. For example, if as an animator, if you because I'll tell specifically from the gameplay point of view. If there is a specific metrics, like from A to B, if you're jumping from platform 1 to platform 2, and if it is not working out, if you're not reaching the desired distance, we really definitely ask you to just have a retake, just try to reach that point there. So that will really help animators to animate, until that is completely impossible. So we'll have a dummy distance covered, and then in animation we just take it forward and do the edits.
And can you you started telling us at the beginning about advice for animators. What advice would you give to other people listening that want to get into a similar field of animating performance capture?
But I'm seeing we have a whole new generation of animators coming up, and every second day, honestly, every third day, I'm reading many blogs, and I'm getting I'm getting queries that we want to learn Motion Builder. Motion Builder is a tool, it's an animation tool where we do all the great animation work which we get from the animation data, mocap data from you guys. So we want to learn Motion Builder in order to work in motion captures. I would say that it's not if you are just new to the industry, it's not just about Motion Builder. It's about crafting your skills as an animator first. Mm-hmm. Then, even if it is Maya or Motion Builder, any other software in the world, it will be like it's just technology. It won't take much time. Basically you can just get trained onto basically just get your skills ready, just practice as much as possible. Get your reel upright for the new animators who want to apply for the gameplay positions. Try to get some gameplay clips, for example, if it is a pick out a favorite clip from your favorite game and just try to animate that, replicate that in your animation in Maya or Motion Builder. And not just a linear animation like we have for films, but this position for gaming. Then try to break it down into various segments and try to stitch it together, leading where you're respecting the idle and the branch poses. If once you are demonstrating those skills in your show reel, this will really help you a lot.
That's really
we have
great.
Too much data on internet. We have tutorials on many game engines, right? Try to learn. Is basically I'll talk about in India, in my country, we don't have any much colleges on gaming, and everything we have to learn by our own self.
That's what I was going to actually ask you about, your training and education. You taught, you're self-taught?
Yes. Technically, I did animation filmmaking when I was in college, years back, and that was just a filmmaking course where I learned 2D animation, and all this was I learned over the period of time. Everything led one after the other. As I said, it was a funny incident, but that thing on having the markers painted on my face, they will give me an impact. Okay, what is this technology? What is this happening? Let's dig it further. Let's investigate. What is this? Moving on, I was working on that sea dragon, but it was just background references I was copying, and basically, in short, I will say that just try to be as curious as possible.
Curiosity is a real theme across our podcast that you've probably noticed. Gerardo was talking about that as in his position on season 1, and a lot of them and a lot of us that have become into this performance capture have kind of stumbled across it, and happy accidents have occurred, and universal timing. It's been really, really great. My one other question, you talked about your training and your education. You did some at college and then you learned mostly the rest of it. The gaming industry is a global enterprise, and you're based in Mumbai. Are there specific locations you must live in to be a lead animator like yourself?
Not really. You can work from anywhere, so that is not a concern. Especially especially in lockdown, we are actually working from home anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Right now with COVID, you can still carry on with everything that you were doing. And my final question is, how can we find you? What are your social media handles if there's an animator out here thinking, oh my goodness, Rohit was so incredible. I need to know more information from this guy. How do I follow him? How do I get in touch with him?
Basically, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm always active on LinkedIn, my Instagram, my Facebook page. So yeah, these are my most common social media handles where I'm always active at. So I love talking to people. I love talking to new people. I love not just creative side of animation, because in gaming you have to be technical as well. So I like interacting with some programming experts, talking about the future of motion capture. Like one thing I really believe, there should be something, you can say a central library for motion capture data. Like for example, when you guys are done with a project, with a production.
Yes, it would be good for you guys as animators. It would be great for us as actors if there were residuals for that people could use and grow and learn from it. Maybe that's a good idea that somebody listening to this can implement, that everybody wins. Anyway, we got to wrap up now, but thank you. Can you just tell me your Instagram handle? Is it just your name or your LinkedIn? What is it?
It's ROHIT.JINDAL.
Thank you so much, Rohit, for joining us from India today. It is wonderful to have you on here. It makes my COVID experience talking to people like yourself extremely improved. And thank you, just thank you for joining us and for your curiosity and for all of your work in the industry so far. And I look forward to seeing more of your work as both of our careers progress in this incredible industry. Thank you. Season 3 of the Performance Capture podcast was recorded and edited at Soundbox Studios in Los Angeles. Soundbox LA is the founding studio in the Soundbox Studio Group, a collective of talent-owned and operated boutique voiceover studios with multiple locations in the Los Angeles area and southern Colorado. You can find out more at soundbox.la. We'd like to send out a huge thanks to Soundbox Studio City's very own Ryan Riveros for editing the episodes of Season 2 and now Season 3. The multi-talented Ryan is also the composer of our theme music.